Richician!
Hey YouTube, Richician84 here, and welcome to a top 20 video. Now, there's been a bit too much negative shit that's gone down, so I'm trying to bring back some positive vibes to the channel. And one way to do it is to count down my top 20 fondest tournament moments. Now, even though I'm not exactly a fan of tournaments and just don't care for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, there are some fond tournament memories that I have from the last 20 plus years that I've played the game. And yeah, I mean, it speaks for itself. Let's just count them down. So starting off at number 20 is from one of my temporary comebacks, the tournament where I played my Jinzo deck at a locals at TTR. I'm not sure of the reasoning behind playing Jinzo though. I know I was on a conquest to defeat Jude, and I guess either I thought he was playing Trap Tricks, or there'd be several people playing it, plus Labyrinth. I don't know if Jinzo would win a Labyrinth matchup or not, but I know it can beat Trap Tricks. I mean, as long as I can get it out quickly enough, it's basically an auto win against them, unless they get rid of it with an Xyz. But anyway, I didn't have either of those matchups, but one of those matchups was against Silver Cyclone TCG's. A Silver Cyclone's a mixture of Pearly and Tearlaments. And yeah, I was just getting my arse handed to me. Yeah, I didn't do very well in this tournament, unfortunately, but a highlight was from this one. Like, I had one card in hand, I think, and he had a board which would have been an OTK, but he was like, he said this is where I ran into Battle Fader, so he attacked, and funnily enough, I did drop Battle Fader, my favourite hand trap. He was like, wow. And not only did I do this, I did this twice, but sadly I wasn't able to make a comeback, and yeah, it was just a wash otherwise, but it was still like a really fun thing to do. Number 19 comes from another match that me and Silver Cyclone had, and this was like many months beforehand, at a locals at DU, where I was also making a temporary comeback, and this was the first time I played my Dark Magician and Fusion Friends build, and one of my matchups was against Shizu Tears, best deck of the format at the time. Now, I managed to win game 1, I think mainly thanks to Rainbow Neos, and in game 2, I was able to pull off something that I wanted to do in these tournaments, which was one of the reasons behind this temporary comeback, and that was Troll Tearlaments with Penguin Knight. And for those who don't know, Penguin Knight's effect is, if this card is sent from your deck to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you'll return your entire graveyard to your deck. And this was something that the Shizu cards did, or at least the ones that are currently banned at the time of recording. So one of them went off, I milled 5 cards, and the last card I milled was Penguin Knight, and I was like, yes! Effect of Penguin Knight, my entire graveyard goes back to my deck. Now ideally, under normal conditions, I'd want like Dark Magician and Soul Servant engraved, so I can banish the Soul Servant to draw a certain number of cards, or bring Dark Magician back with Eternal Sword or Monster Reborn, but I don't think either of those were engraved at the time. Well, except one Dark Magician that got milled, I think. And yeah, he was completely thrown off by that. I was like, that's pretty cool, actually. What would have made this even better was if I didn't misplay, because yeah, I actually made a mistake that cost me the game. I got out Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, like that was the only time I got him out, and he had Draco Stapelia, and for some reason I forgot that DP's effect was a quick effect. I mean, yeah, it was just one of the worst misplays ever and worst brain farts. But I didn't think to chain his effect to target himself plus one of his other monsters and destroy it. And had I done that, that could have changed everything, and I could have won the match. Yeah, I could have beaten the best deck of the format with a variant of Dark Magician. So annoying. If I did that, this would have been higher, but either way, it was still a cool moment regardless. And speaking of Dark Magician, this brings me to number 18. Basically, the first tournament match of the day at one of the Ramsgate tournaments. This dates back to my third ever trip to Margate, and the second time I went to the same locals that Neo Nexus scapegoat user Ojama the Bomb and Mr. Sasuke Dragon would go to. And again, I was on Legendary Hero, and my first matchup was against one of our friends, Flannery, playing Nordics. And I just remember just an epic moment where he had Loki, which for some reason I pronounced Loki at the time, but I managed to get out Dark Magician, Gunner, and I think Rainbow Neos as well. Hey, honey. Yeah, I'm fairly sure it was Rainbow Neos I got out, but I definitely do remember having Dark Magician and Gunner being on the field, and I was just able to get around his board and win the whole thing. I forget if I destroyed Loki with Gunner or whether I spun him back with Rainbow Neos. Or I just attacked over it with Rainbow Neos and then attacked the game with the other two monsters. I forget the exact details because, well, it's been 13 years, but it was still a random, fond moment from back then. Number 17, dropping Karibo on an 8K Cyber End Dragon. Now this dates back to late 2006, like just before Cyberstein got an emergency ban, but before then, like, the best deck in the game was Stein OTK, which had been running riot for like well over a year, and it was just not fun. Yeah, it was just such an annoying bullshit deck, which I, for one, could not beat to save my life, no matter what I did. And I had a good counter strategy, one of which involved Karibo. So the opponent was able to clear my field, use Cyberstein to get out a Cyber End Dragon, and equip it with Megamorph. He went to attack the game, but I was like, I discard Karibo, which took him by surprise. But I still got hit by Cyber Stein and Cyber Phoenix, and then he ended his turn. And all I could do was play Swords of Revealing Light, but sadly I had no other plays. I didn't even have a monster I could put out. And then, rather annoyingly, he played Giant Trunade on the following turn and attacked the game again. That was so annoying. I was hoping I could make a comeback after using Karibo, but no such luck there. But it was still a very fond moment, and a really funny one as well. Number 16, beating Eldritch with Exodia. And this dates back to the very last normal tournament I played in, which I only did to mark the 90th anniversary since I first started playing in tournaments, and in my very first one I played Exodia, so I used Exodia in this one, and I definitely did a lot better with Exodia than I did with Jinzo and Gagagas. I was able to win my very first match, which was against Eldritch, but lost all the others, which was against Labyrinth and I think Dragon Link, as well as Branded Chimera. So unfortunate, but at least I was able to get one win, which was against Eldritch, and it went to a third game, but luckily I was able to hold off my opponent until I had 4 pieces in hand, and he did have a Doom King Boulder Rock out on field, and I summoned Sangan, crushed the Sangan, and because luckily I could take a hit, and added the last piece to my hand, and then I was like, Exodia obliterate! And this impressed quite a few people nearby, including Jude, who was like, Tom, he's done us proud, he won by Exodia. So yeah, that was just awesome. Number 15, beating ABCs with Neospatians. Now, this is a story that I did bring up a few times already, so I'll try not to go too much into it, but yeah, this was just one of those random highlights from a tournament which I honestly wasn't expecting to happen. And this was during the top 18 favourite deck challenge, where I'd play my top 18 decks at the time in reverse order throughout various tournaments and Dead Universe Comics Royal Rumbles, and Neospatians were up, which at first I didn't feel great about, because I would have preferred to use either Warriors or Red Eyes Black Dragon, but Warriors had been used in a Royal Rumble before, which did struggle against Dark Lords in a Royal, and I wasn't able to do another one, and Red Eyes Black Dragon was after Neospatians, but yeah, I wasn't expecting to do well, and keep in mind, of course, this was in late 2016, so this was before the support we got in Savage Strike, so yeah, we're talking before Neos Fusion existed, and just before Stratos was unbanned, and literally the best card in the deck was Miracle Contact. But I did better than I thought, even though I wasn't off to a great start. I lost against Light Swarms. I beat Storwings. I'm pretty sure it was Storwings I faced. And I lost against Metal Foes. And then in the last round... Oh, hello.
I went to go and meet her to bring some stuff in. Little bee.
Do you want to have Bertie say hello in the video?
Sure.
Hello, Bertie. Who currently wants to get away.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is.
Why don't you join me for this top 20 video?
Yeah, bless him. If he stays.
No, he wants to walk about again.
It's because there's new things he's intrigued. Okay.
He'll be back.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the fourth round I went up against ABCs, which was one of the top decks in the meta at the time. Something I really didn't want to play against, because I just absolutely hate ABCs. Like, Dragon Buster is just so annoying and hard to counter. So I didn't fancy my chances here, and I lost game one, but I was able to win game two and just outmaneuver certain things my opponent did. And then the third game, the third game was quite funny actually. He sided anti-spell frames against me, and this ended up completely backfiring on him. I thought it was going to outright screw me over, but luckily, he didn't banish any of the spells I set. I mean, it was Neo Space, Miracle Contact, E-Call, something else, plus a Dark Panther. And although he did get out ABC Dragon Buster, he banished my Dark Panther, thankfully, and none of my spells, and luckily I was able to make a comeback. I remember I sided System down against him, because that's an auto win against ABCs, but he was able to dodge it with the Book of Eclipse, so I had to resort to using Gamma Seal, and I was able to get out all of my fusions, get rid of it, but because of his anti-spell, he just couldn't make a comeback. So, and that was able to get me the win, and was able to finish on an even score of 2 wins and 2 losses. So yeah, that was just incredible. Like, I never thought I'd beat ABCs with Neo-Spacians, like, not in a million years. Number 14, beating Endymion with Destiny Heroes. Yeah, this was another tournament goal that I tried to fulfill, and again was something I did for one of my temporary comebacks back in 2021. Endymion, of course, is an arch nemesis deck of mine. Like, besides a couple of endurances, I've never ever been able to beat it in a match, and I wanted to pull that off once and for all, and I thought I'd do it with any of my Epic Elite decks, which I played in various tournaments. Now, in all the ones I did enter, it took 3 attempts, so there were just 3 each, and I did manage to get paired against Weber's 5 every single time. First time was with Gadgets, but that was a loss, although it was down to end of match procedure more than anything else. The second attempt was with Fire Kings, but again it went to time, but it went to a draw. Then the third attempt was, of course, with Destiny Heroes. Yeah, they pulled through, although I wasn't off to a great start. I lost my first 2 rounds, one of which, can't remember what I faced. The other was Sword Soul, I think. It might have been, it was either Sword Soul or Eldritch. Actually, it might have been Eldritch, I think. And then I managed to get a win against Fire Warriors, and then I was able to get the Endymion matchup, and I was very impressed with my opening turn, getting out Destroy Phoenix Enforcer and Plasma out turn 1. Although he was able to outmaneuver the DP with Goddess, because I didn't use DP's effect at all as far as I remember, because I wasn't 100% sure what to use it on. But the fact that he was able to link it away just threw me off. And then he ran over Plasma, and that really set me back. I was like, oh no, please don't tell me this is going to lead to another loss. But thankfully it didn't, and I was able to eventually overcome Goddess, this time with help from Dystopia, and managed to take that. And in game 2, even though he set up a board of Endymion, Master Cerberus, Necro Valley and Right Hand, I was able to play around all these, bait out the negates of Right Hand, and then, what did I do next?
Got purring kitty.
Oh. And then I think I brought Shadow Mist out, then used Super Poly and fused Shadow Mist with Endymion, made Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, gained the attack points of Master Cerberus. I don't think I tried to copy the effect, because there wouldn't have been any spell counters on my side, but it didn't matter. And did I get DP out on this turn as well? I think I did. It's been a while, but basically I was able to break the monster board and just take the game from there. And I was just so happy to finally defeat that deck in a match. Of course, it would have been preferable to do it with Dark Magician, since they're kind of arch rival decks in a way, but that was able to be pulled off a year later. Number 13, the whole tournament where I finished third with Dark Paladin. This was one that happened almost 20 years ago now, back when it was actual GOAT format. But yeah, the whole day was just an absolute blast, and I did quite well considering. I think I only lost one match in the Swiss. I'll see you in a bit.
See you in a bit. Might be long.
Okay.
Bye.
I love you.
Love you too.
Yeah, that's just my other half going to the shop. So yeah, Dark Paladin. I think I only lost one match in Swiss, but was able to overcome a generic insect deck, despite getting cocked by Swords of Revealing Light and Noble Man-Eater Bug. It was just wild, because I had both Jinzo and Dark Paladin on the field. I think the swords might have been played before I got Dark Paladin out, I can't remember. Yeah, I used to run Jinzo in my Dark Paladin deck, because the whole idea at the time was to get Jinzo out first and make it so I don't get cocked by any traps, and then bring Dark Paladin out. It didn't always work, but when it did, it was just great. Unfortunately, both of them got popped by Noble Man-Eater Bug. noble man-eater bug. That was just wild. I don't think I won that duel, but I was able to win the whole match. Yeah, it was still a funny moment. And for some reason, the final was between three people, like me, some guy who was playing Silent Swordsman, and Eagle, who was one of the best players from back then. I think that's who I lost to, actually. And he was playing Horus Decree. I was able to bring Dark Richician out in this game, but he was able to get Horus out, and neither of us could do anything to overcome it. Well, I potentially could have done, because I'm pretty sure I had Odd Vindictive Magician in my deck at the time, and maybe DD Warrior Lady? I can't remember. But it was still a fun event regardless, and I was quite happy with third place. So it was just a fun, good time all around. Number 12. Beating Monarchs with Elemental Heroes. This dates back to the tournament where I made top 2 with Elemental Heroes for the very first time. But yeah, on the way I was able to make the top 4, and I defeated Perfect Circle Monarch in the top 4, which was another of those random surprising victories, considering I was playing a fun casual deck, whereas Perfect Circle Monarch was one of the top decks of the meta at the time. So I wasn't sure I'd win, but I did, and I was just pleasantly surprised, and it was a 2-0 win as well. Yeah, I was able to just have the right cards to be able to turn the tide in my favour and make it to the final. Shame I didn't win the tournament, but yeah, that was still a great fond memory, and one of the several highlights of the day. Number 11, when Derek, Delves Logos 3D Printing, summoned Obelisk the Tormentor against me. Now this dates back to a tournament from the September 2009 format. But back when I was still playing Prismagician. Now, I was on a little conquest here to try and win a gold sarcophagus, because I wanted to pick that up for my Rainbow Neos deck, and a copy of Gold Sarco was up for grabs for whoever finished second. So the plan was for me to make it to the top 2 and either just give my opponent the win or just purposely throw the match just so I could get the Gold Sarco. Unfortunately it didn't work out and I wasn't able to get it. However, there was still a cool highlight from that day. So I was up against Derek, of course, playing Black Wings, yeah, one of his signature decks, the other one being Cyber Dragon. Now, he won game 1, I managed to win game 2, but game 3 wasn't going too well for me. getting swarmed, getting backed into a corner, and victory looked bleak. And I was somewhere around 4,000 life points, like just below it, and I thought it was going to just swing for game with all of his synchros, but out of nowhere, he just goes, yeah, sacrifice 3 for Obelisk the Tormentor. Timby went what? And I was like, what? Are you freaking serious? And then he attacked the game. Yeah, it was just wild. I did not see that coming at all. And this was, as you may have guessed, this was soon after the playable version of Obelisk came out. Yeah, and we were all like, Torment! And he was just laughing. So, even though it was a loss, it was just such an awesome moment, which I wish I still had on my channel, although I believe I did do a reenactment of it. But yeah, that was just awesome. Yeah, one of the fondest memories of all time. So we're in the halfway zone now, so in at number 10 is when I summoned Giorgio's copy of Zeus, and it was the first time I ever summoned Zeus, and this was before it got reprinted. So this dates back to 2021, when Webbers 5 hosted that Pegasus Challenge tournament. I think there's just 6 of us doing it, me, him, Giorgio, Marley, the Sparkman and George. I was doing quite well in this. Well, actually I did really well, so I managed to win the first round against Performer Pals. In the second round was when I faced Giorgio, who was playing gimmick puppets. So, and what happened was it went to a third game, and there was a point where I had number 11 Big Eye on the field, and then after that, I don't know what you call this, a rule change, I think, or a condition, but basically a new condition was called where both players swapped extra decks. And it wasn't particularly good for me, because that would mean that any copies of Red Eye's Fusion I had left were dead, basically. But luckily I'd already established a good enough board, whereas Giorgio had nothing to go into apart from maybe Linkaribo. And then a bit later on, before I had a chance to use Big Eye's effect on something, another condition was called, where it was the strongest monsters on the field do battle. And this was like outside of the battle phase, so they did battle. So that happened. Then I had a flick through his extra deck and saw that he had Zeus in there. Now you guys know the general condition to summon Zeus. You use an Xyz monster that battled this turn as a material. So I looked at it and then turned to Webbers 5 and asked, wait, so now that I've done this, because Big Eye was the strongest monster I controlled, does that mean I can use this? Or go into this rather? And then Webbers 5 was like, oh my god, yes, you actually can. So I was like, oh, sick, I'll use Big Eye as a material to Xyz summon Zeus. and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" They were just in absolute shock that I did that. And I was even like, the funny thing is, it's not even my Zeus. And yeah, that basically carried me to victory. So that was just another cool, funny highlight, and one of my favourite moments from 2021 on camera. Number 9. This is a classic joke from the good old Pharaoh's Elite days. Any response? So basically, this was like a spur of the moment thing which I randomly filmed, and two of my friends, Blue and Davies, were in a game, and basically Blue was jokingly rule sharking. So yeah, he wasn't being an actual proper rule shark. Don't even worry about that. Yeah, he was just doing it in a joking way. Otherwise, well, that wouldn't have been great. But yeah, he was jokingly trying to get Davies to do some things properly. Yeah, it was like, enter battle phase, come on, do this properly. Then Davies was like, right, enter battle phase. Yes. Attack. No. Any response. And it was all like, activate this, play that, any response. I wish I still had that video. I think this was still right at the end of Edison format as well. Do you need help getting down? No, I got you. Yeah, poor thing, she's just been spayed. Needs to take it easy. Where was I? Oh yeah. So yeah. Yeah, it was just so funny, and I kept bursting out laughing a few times, and yeah, it just became not just a fond tournament memory, but just one of the most iconic videos on my channel. Man, I wish I still had it, but again, I did reenact it, but I know the reenactments just aren't the same as the original. And yeah, Davies did call Blue some rude names after that, but it was all good. It's just a banter. That's all it was, just a banter between friends. Yeah, having laughs like this, it just makes tournaments just a lot more fun and more yeah, more chilled, I guess. So yeah, that was a really great thing about the Pharaoh's Elite tournaments. Number 8, winning the Pegasus Challenge tournament with my Red Eyes Black Dragon deck. So yeah, we're going back to this tournament again, where I went pretty much undefeated. Well, I say pretty much because every single match I had went to a third game. But yeah, it was still a cool thing to do, regardless. So yeah, like I said, I beat Performer Pals, I beat Gimmick Puppets, and then in the last round, I managed to beat my Dolces. Now here's the thing, normally Dolces are quite hard to overcome, especially for Red Eyes Black Dragon. However, there was a rule that had to be applied for the match. Like, we had to start with just one card. I think this helped a lot and gave me a huge advantage, since I could easily top into a Red Eyes Fusion, get out a Fusion monster and just control the board just like that. Or if not Red Eyes Fusion, then Red Eyes Insight, so I can search for the Red Eyes Fusion. Whereas Madolches don't seem to do well in top deck mode if they have nothing. Well, to be fair, Mageline and Angeli can help. I mean, Angeli can be quite good to top into, and try and get some momentum going that way in deck fin. But Red Eyes just had the better top decking power. Well, unless I drew one of my high level monsters, or Red Eyes alternative Black Dragon with nothing, but yeah, it worked out just fine, and I was able to win the event. And I was just pleased that I managed to technically win a locals with Red Eyes Black Dragon and without Dragoon. So that's still a flex. Number 7, winning a tournament with Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now, I hadn't played my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck in many tournaments, but actually I forget why I played it in this event, because before there were 3 tournaments that I did play in but didn't do very well. I only went 2 wins and 3 losses in Swiss and didn't make top 8. But then the one after that, I did a bit better, getting 3 wins, but wasn't quite enough to top. But this one was a different story. There were only 3 rounds, and I did win the first one, but I don't remember what it was against. It's been a while. And then I actually managed to beat Thunder Dragons, which again was one of the best decks in the format at the time. So we're talking like January, February 2019. Actually, no, this did happen in February 2019. And it was under the November or December 2018 ban list, the one where Firewall Dragon got banned. But anyway, yeah, so I managed to beat Thunder Dragons, although I think that was on end of match procedure. And then in the last round, I went up against this mixture of Phantom Knights and Pendulum Magician, and I was able to beat that. I feel like mainly because of Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, which should be an auto win against any Pendulum deck. The problem is there have been ways that they were able to play around it, like with Millennium fucking Eyes Restrict, for instance, just like in that Endurance. But anyway, yeah, I felt like that was a big help, and it helped bring me to victory. So yeah, I managed to win a locals with Blue Eyes White Dragon as well. So yeah, to this date I managed to get victories of all 3 original classic boss monster decks, like Red Eyes Black Dragon, Blue Eyes White Dragon, and quite a few with Dark Magician. Number 6, winning a tournament with Elemental Heroes. So this wasn't a typical locals. it was actually the 400 subscriber mini tournament that I did back in 2010, because ever since I made top 2 with my Elementals for the very first time and finished second, I made it a goal to win a tournament with Elemental Heroes, but unfortunately I didn't have the best of luck. Like, either I wouldn't top, or even if I did and made it to the final, I'd get screwed over somehow in the final. And then of course there was these bad runs I had throughout 2009 where I just wasn't doing well in tournaments at all, at least not until September that year. But yeah, the 2009 formats were just some of the worst formats ever. Probably not as bad as more recent ones, but it was just so shit. Like, I was on so many losing streaks, and I was just getting frustrated. Even when things were picking up, like during the September 2009 format, I still wasn't quite able to win any locals with Elemental Heroes. Like, not even in early 2010. In fact, there was a tournament I entered like during March 2010. I'm pretty sure this was early Edison form. Yeah, it was early Edison format, and I did make top 8 and lost to fucking X-Sabers, all because of a top deck of brain control. That was so annoying. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and like do my own fun tournament with only my decks, and luckily I had enough for a smaller one, so it was 8, which Silver Cyclone kindly helped me with. Yeah, think of this as sort of a prototype to the Dark Richician's deck Grand Championship. And naturally, Elemental Heroes was one of the decks that got used, which I used in every single match, and I managed to win every single match. It beat my Jaden character deck, which wasn't that difficult because it's a character deck. Then I beat Rainbow Neos 2-1, and then I beat Richician. So yeah, Elemental Heroes were finally able to win a tournament of some kind. Although a few years later I decided to try again at winning either a tournament or a Royal Rumble with my Elemental Heroes. Although with Elemental Heroes it took 3 months to do. Eventually I did it, and then a couple of years after that, in 2017, I was able to win like an actual locals with them, technically, even though I shouldn't have, because I was playing my Jaden Skeleton character deck, and in the first round I won against Dragon Master 25 with his Lunar Lights, but I shouldn't have. I mean, he did have the ability to finish me off with Leo Dancer, but he made a mistake with it that cost him the game and allowed me to turn things around. And I felt bad about that. And then I beat Evil Heroes 2-0, and then I beat Marek 2-0. Of course, to make up for this, Elemental Heroes did win the Dark Richician's deck Grand Championship and like a couple of other spin-off series, but either way, Elemental Heroes did win a tournament eventually, after a long time trying and failing to do so. So I'm happy with that. Number 5, all the times I won with Dark Magician. No thanks. At this point I have won a few local tournaments. Most of them were with Dark Magician. That was a sub-goal of mine in the earlier days, winning a tournament and winning a tournament with Dark Magician, although the first ever win was with my machines, which was great, but I wanted a victory with Dark Magician, and I got that multiple times. First time was during the March 2007 format, where I was able to win a mirror match, something generic with Hydrogeddon, Monarchs and Sacred Phoenix, and against Cyber Dragons. And then the one after that was a normal tournament that was on at the same time as the Phantom Darkness Sneak Peek. This was during Perfect Circle format. Actually, this was like a few weeks after I made top 2 with Elemental Heroes. I can't remember how I did in Swiss, but I was able to get to the final again and win the whole thing. I know one deck I beat was Elemental Heroes, and another deck I beat was Volcanics, but I don't remember what else I played against. But still, it was a great run. Then the one after that was that tag team tournament, which me and Anna won by default, all because there was a double game loss in one of the matches of the last round. It was really weird how this worked, as we won the first match, we lost our second match, and then we had a bye, and somehow we both had enough points to win the whole thing. It was like, okay, cool, I'll take it. But my next win with pure Dark Magician wouldn't come until over a decade later, unless you count the victory with Legendary Hero. But in terms of pure, I got a win over 10 years later. This was during the September 2018 format. I beat Nurse Burn, which was just as well, because fuck that deck. I beat Cybers, I think, and beat True Draco in the last round, although that was on end of match procedure. And then the funny thing is, I won another tournament like 2 months later, which was like about 3 weeks or so before that victory with Blue Eyes White Dragon. It was one of those events where I did better than I thought I did. So again, I beat Nurse Burn in round 1. Like, seriously, why does that keep coming up? And then in the other round, I beat Fluffles, although I shouldn't have won that match, because what happened was I lost game 1 horribly, and in game 2 I sided in Waking the Dragon and Ultimate Falcon, and it got and Waking the Dragon did get popped. I think it's Frightfur Tiger that destroys cards, I'm not sure. And then I was able to get out an Ultimate Falcon, and he managed to get up a board of not just Tiger, but also Sabre and Sheep. I'm trying to remember how big Sheep was. I think it was on 2800. So yeah, there was a play. Oh yeah, and I had Ultimate Falcon out on the field, and there was a play he could have done to get rid of Ultimate Falcon and win the match, but he didn't do it for some reason. Yeah, what he should have done was crash Sheep into Ultimate Falcon, Sheep gets destroyed, and it would have come back with an extra 800. Because it was already powered up by the other Frightfurs, and it would have been somewhere over 3500, and he could have destroyed Ultimate Falcon and won the match. So I don't know what stopped him doing that, but it was lucky for me because I was able to. I don't even remember what I did to clear his board, but I was able to win that and win game 3 somehow. And then I faced Lunar Lights in the last round and beat those as well. So yeah, it was another event that I won, but I shouldn't have won. So again, I felt bad, but at the same time, I was pretty pleased. I mean, I'm not going to complain about any sort of tournament win. Oh, hello, socks. Number 4, the tag team victory with Rainbow Neos. Yes, this dates back to the second ever tag team tournament that Dead Universe Comics did during the April 2016 format. So me and Brute Boy teamed up with each other. He brought Yang Zings, and I was going to use Dark Magician, but I thought, actually, I want to give Rainbow Neos a go. Because A, I'd never used it in a tag team tournament, and B, it was a good opportunity to try and win a locals with Rainbow Neos. Yeah, it worked out great. Me with Rainbow Neos and other Elemental Hero fusions, and Brute Boy spamming out synchros. And in the first round, we beat Cosmo and Stormwings, and I was happy about this because for some reason I was struggling against Cosmo with Rainbow Neos, considering that that's a deck which Rainbow Neos should easily be able to deal with, provided of course I'm not getting OTK'd. But luckily, we were able to play the right cards at the right time. Although there was one point where he had one of the light Cosmos on the field, and I was worried about running into Honest. I think I had the Shining on the field. So I was depending on Brute Boy to turn things around if this went wrong. Although it wouldn't have been a huge loss, because at least if the Shining got destroyed, I would have recycled 2 banished Elemental Heroes. So I went to attack, but I wasn't met with honest, I was instead met with magic cylinder. So it did hurt, but we were still in a good position, and yeah, we were able to finish them off. Then round 2, we beat a team up of Exodia and Galaxy Photon. Exodia was quite worrying actually, as my strategy was to get Rainbow Neos out and just use whichever effect was necessary to keep spinning stuff back to the deck and slow down the process of assembling Exodia. However, Root Boy managed to get out Trishula and successfully banish one of the pieces, which was like, oh, that's actually even better for us. And yeah, we were able to overcome them. Then round 3, we beat a team up of, I think, Burning Abyss and Pass. Maybe it was Magispectors, or it was either Magispectors or Dino Mist. I can't remember exactly, although I did make a bit of a misplay, which I was worried would cost us the game. Now, Root Boy had the ability to destroy Beatrice, which was on the field, and I foolishly activated Breakthrough skill on Beatrice to try and stop her graveyard effect. But then I realised that wouldn't have done anything. Although it did force the opponent to chain her effect to send something. Luckily, it didn't screw us over, and we were able to just about win on time, because our life points were like a couple of points higher, thankfully. So I think we got lucky there. Not as lucky as the last round, though, where we faced off against Weber's 5 with Odd Eyes Magician and Sam, who was also playing Yang Zings. Now, I did make a bit of a mistake in this one too, although it might not have been as bad as because Weber's had Zangshin Magician, no, was it Zanki Magician on the field, the one that negates the effect of a light monster. And I got Rainbow Neos out and I tried to spin their monsters, but he was able to negate with Zanki Magician's effect, and was like, oh shit, I forgot it could do that. I was kicking myself over that. Ooh, I need some light. And then I realised that what I should have done was attack and destroy it first, so that then I could use Rainbow Neos' effect. But then again, it wouldn't have mattered, because people would have just done it anyway. So I don't feel as bad about that. It was fine though. We were able to get the win through end of match procedure, and luckily our life points were higher because Upstart Goblin was activated earlier in the duel, and that helped keep our life points higher. So yeah, it's one of those occasions where playing Upstart Goblin just ultimately backfired. But then again, we couldn't have known how this would go down. But yeah, with this, it meant that me and Blue Boy won the tag team tournament, and that was my first tournament win in 5 years. Which which I'm going to get to right now. So in at number 3 was the time where I used super polymerization to fuse legendary 6 Samurai Shen and the Churia Barkion together. This was during the March 2011 format, which was one of the shittest formats ever, mainly because 6 samurais were just dominating over everything, because of Shen and that beast. Like, seriously, fuck those two monsters and everything they stand for. But yeah, rather annoyingly, I got the 6 samurai matched up in round 2, I think, and I was playing Legendary Hero, and yeah, 6 Samurais was one of the decks that I just did not want to play against, like, ever. Because I didn't have a lot that could deal with Shen. Because with him negating half my deck, that only left me with monster effects, so my only outs were bombing the field with Black Rose Dragon, crashing with Stardust Dragon, or if I had Red Dragon Archfiend in extra, run it over with that. Although Stardust and Red Dragon would require me to have Treeborn Frog or Battle Fader, summon Debris Dragon, revive Dandelion, then sink. Oh, Trishula! Trishula was my other out to it. And because I can make Trish in that deck, all I need to do is Debris Dragon, any of my level 3s, whether it's Dandelion or King of the Swamp, Treeborn Frog, and Battle Fader, drop Trish, or I could use a fluff token if I still had one on the field, like from before. Or of course, my other out was one of my Dragon Synchros, plus Super Poly, fusing it with Shen to make Dragon Knight Draco Request. However, I was able to pull off something even better. As I was struggling, I was stuck behind Shen and Barkion, and I don't remember if it was in the moment or whether I found this out earlier, but I noticed that Barkion is a dragon, so I was like, activate super polymerization. I fuse your 2 monsters together to make Dragon Knight Draco Request. So yeah, I got rid of the negates, and I was able to win the match from that point. I don't remember if it was the same turn or like a bit earlier than when I won, but yeah, it was just such an epic move that I was able to pull off, and one of the greatest comebacks I ever did. And what made it even better was that I went on to win the tournament with Legendary Hero, defeating Dragoonities and TG Tengu Plant along the way. Number 2, winning a tournament for the very first time, which of course was right at the start of 2007, well, maybe not right at the start, like a few days after the new year. But yeah, first tournament of the year, I took my generic machines, and it was the first time I'd ever played them in a tournament, and I did well. I went 3 wins, 2 losses. My losses were against Axeman, Burn, and some light deck that Russ was playing, but I did, however, beat Dark Magician, something that G played, can't remember, and pass. I don't remember, it's been so long. So I made top 8, faced Dark Magician again, beat that, and rather annoyingly I went up against the Taxman burn deck again, but this time I was able to come out on top, especially after one point where I was able to get out Perfect Machine King, which is my friend Brendan's favourite card. He never attended the Pharaoh's Elite tournaments, but he was there in spirit in a way. But I was able to win the match 2-1. Then I faced Russ in the final, and this time it went to a third game, and yeah, before I realised it, I managed to win the match, and I was like, wait, I won the tournament? And I was just in disbelief for a moment that I'd finally achieved one of my goals, winning a tournament. And of course, I won a couple of things. That T-shirt, which says Yu-Gi-Oh! Champ on the front. Actually, I can pause it to show you it real quick. But yeah, this is the T-shirt that I got. You may have seen me wear it in quite a lot of my videos. Yeah, it looks so old now, but I've still kept it. And of course I also won a Raviel Lord of Phantasms tin, and kept said Raviel. This is it, this is the exact same one, and it's in a 3D printed case thing done by Dell's Lobos 3D printing. And yeah, I've kept it as a trophy all these years, and it's even been in my Evil Hero side deck at one point. Yeah, that was just really awesome. It's been it was a good day all around. Yeah, just really one of the most enjoyable times of early Yu-Gi-Oh! Like before synchros changed everything. And finally, in at number 1, my fondest tournament memory was the first time I ever came to the Pharaoh's Elite tournaments. Yeah, thanks to meeting Tobias at the Trotters tournaments. I mean, I know I've told the story before, but I'm glad he was able to introduce me to the Pharaoh's Elite tournaments. Yeah, that was when I met, well, almost everyone. I'm trying to remember everyone I met on the day. Derek, G, Blue when he was Sam, Liam G, not Neon Exodus, this was a different Liam. Who else did I meet that day? I'm not quite sure, but I met all the others like Clive, Steve-O, Jonesy, Seb, and all the others I met through Pharaoh's Elite like a lot later. But yeah, it was everyone was so nice. It was just a great friendly atmosphere all around, and I had many fun games, and for some reason the Swiss rounds were best of 1, but it was like, okay, fair enough. I did lose a Dark Magician mirror match in the first round, I only remember one other Swiss round, but this was against Liam, and there was one point where I activated Scapegoat and used my homemade sheep tokens, which you might have seen, and he just burst out laughing. It was kind of unexpected, but yeah, that was the only time I ever got out my homemade tokens and it made someone laugh. And then Derek had a look over and then he chuckled as well. Speaking of, I went on to face him in the top 8, and this was when he was on his Cyber Dragons. Now, I don't remember how it all went down, but he beat me game 1, I beat him in game 2, and I specifically remember getting up Dark Magician of Chaos in this one, but he won game 3. But yeah, overall it was just still a great time. Oh yeah, and that was the first time I ever topped an event as well. Actually no, that's a lie, there was that time where I finished 3rd in a traditional format tournament at Trotters. Yeah, this was the second time I ever topped an event. But yeah, this would be the first of many times where I would make at least top 8 in the Pharaoh's Elite tournaments. I was quite surprised that I did that well, actually. Considering I don't usually do that great in the Trotters ones. I mean, sometimes I get 3 wins, 2 losses, sometimes I get 2 wins and 3 losses, and even sometimes 1 win, which isn't great, although there were only ever 2 times where I won 4 matches. One was in the first ever Pharaoh's Tour tournament, and the second time was in that traditional format tournament. But yeah, I did a lot better in the Pharaoh's Elite tournaments, well, at least until synchros came into the game, and then everyone started using those, and yeah, they just changed the game too much, and after that I was hardly ever topping, but that's another story, which I've already gone over. But yeah, overall it was still a great fun time. I'm glad I came, and I wanted to come again, and I did keep coming again and again and again, and make more friends along the way, and you know, it just opened up to other series of events that happened, like gaining 2 girlfriends from it, one of which I got my current job because of. Of course, later on I got into tubing, which I don't know if I would have done. Well, maybe I still would have done even if I didn't join the Pharaoh's Elite tournaments. I don't know, but yeah, I made like a ton of friends through the Pharaoh's Elite tournament, which I still talk to this day, and would still see at other tournaments that would happen in Aylesbury, like the Dead Universe Comics ones, the other events that would happen at the hall, even when they weren't being run by Derek. So yeah, I met loads of great people and formed some great friendships. So even though there's maybe 1 or 2 that I did end up falling out with, but, and some I just lost contact with, but yeah, there's still for the most part, I've still kept in contact with basically everyone. And the cool thing is, come October next year, it will have been 20 years since I first met Derek and all the other guys from the Ferris Elite tournaments. But yeah, it was just great. I'm going to be honest, they were like the best locals I ever went to. Not that the other ones weren't great. I mean, I still loved the ones at Watford, the ones at the Trotters ones, the ones at Dead Universe Comics, the ones at Tabletop Republic, and the fair few in Ramsgate or Canterbury that I went to. But yeah, the Ferris Elite ones were just the absolute best. Not because I usually did well in them, but because yeah, there were some really cool people who I formed many bonds of friendships with, and we always have a laugh and have such a great time, like whenever any of these events are on. And yeah, it is a shame they aren't on anymore, but yeah, they were still a lot of fun. And yeah, that is it. I know this has been a ridiculously long video, but there was a lot to cram in. But yeah, that's going to do it for the top 20 of my fondest tournament memories. And if you've got any, let them know what they are in the comments down below. And on that note, I will see you guys later. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Dark Richician.